Why did Finn McKenty stop uploading YouTube videos?
I don't have any plans to do anything on YouTube.
Finn is one of the OGs in music content creation, and he's gained millions of views on his punk rock NBA channel and his second solo channel. So why did he suddenly stop?
I don't really have any interest in music. I was just doing it for the money, and I hit my financial goals. Our time on this earth is limited. Like, don't spend it doing shit you don't have to do if you don't want to, you know? So I don't have to keep making videos about System of a Down.
Also on the show, we talk about whether bands are really to blame for high ticket prices, the powerful effects of nostalgia, how he now helps others grow on LinkedIn and YouTube, and he also shared his 2 biggest tips to making your videos go viral.
The amount of views that any video is going to get is going to be a product of 2 things. Number 1, topic is the most important thing. Of course, title and thumbnail and stuff like that's important too, but topic is the number 1 thing. And then how is sort of the second part of that.
Well, dude, appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day to chat with me here on the WhatTheGleeson show.
Of course.
I can't believe this is the first time we've ever actually been like virtually face to face after all these years. Like, we've had a lot of text message threads and DMs and stuff, but the first actual full on conversation.
It's like our weird, first date after being an online couple for months, and finally I fly you out,
right?
And we're like, so what do you want to do? Want to play
Turns out I'm
Smash
real.
Brothers?
Yeah. Like you don't look exactly like your pictures, but
right.
We can
close enough.
We can work with it. Dude, you were actually one of the very first kind of music YouTubers I started watching, and like you actually like kind of scared me away from even trying content creation initially. Because
why is
like
that?
you like just seemed like such a wealth of knowledge. Like you knew so much about the topics you were talking about that I was like, dude, I can't make content. Like I don't know like the encyclopedia history of all these bands, but like,
well,
you
neither
just
do
came,
I.
like,
It's just like literally look it up on Wikipedia. I don't know. Like I've never listened to System of a Down in my life.
Well, yeah, and that's what you said. I heard you say that one time in an interview. You're like, yeah, I just basically read your Wikipedia page and I'll show up some pictures and some context, and which is crazy because like you would think like you'd have to have like a vast like knowledge of these bands, like a deep appreciation to, but you said you kind of just looked at more like almost like a product basically, right?
Yeah, there's some where I know a lot. Like if I'm friends with someone in the band or something like that, or there's somewhere whatever, I saw them when they first started out 25 years ago or something like that. There's some of those where I definitely know a lot just from sort of personal experience, but the majority I would say I don't.
Yeah. What made you start making videos in the first place?
The reason I started YouTube was back in 2017. I think it was September of 2017. And I kind of found myself in a place in my career where I had done a lot of stuff that I was proud of, that I thought was pretty cool. For anybody who doesn't know, I guess most people know me from YouTube, but my actual sort of career has always been in product design and marketing. So I started doing that kind of, I guess the first like real kind of design job I got was in 2002, I think. Yeah, 2002. A guy named Chase Jarvis, who some people know, he's become sort of a really well-known photographer and started a company called Creative Live. Back then, he was just sort of a local photographer, and he had an ad agency. At the time, I sort of ran into him at the print shop I worked at, got a job there, did some stuff for like Nike, Nintendo, Red Bull. It was not, the work I did for them was not great, so I apologize to our clients, but I kind of got my foot in the door there. Then I worked at another agency where I did a lot of stuff for Procter and Gamble, like Tide, Febreze, Swiffer, Bounce, like a lot of big sort of fabric care brands, stuff like that.
You were in charge of putting the arsenic in the powder, right?
That's Johnson & Johnson. Never did anything for J&J. Actually, that's not true. We did some work for a brand called Ethicon that did medical devices that's owned by J&J, but none of the J&J CPG stuff. And then after that, I did design and marketing for Abercrombie and Fitch for a couple years. After that, I worked for Chase's startup, Creative Live, which was online education for creative people. We raised, I think, $60 million or so from some real like top tier investors like Greylock, Social Capital, people that you might have heard of like Chamath Palihapitiya and Reid Hoffman and stuff like that. And so I'd done a lot of this stuff that I was pretty proud of. And I think anybody would tell you that I was good at my job, but nobody knew who I was and nobody cared, because it's just sort of one of these things. If you're like, oh, you worked on a bunch of big brands, cool. Like,
But if you don't have a social media following, you're not anybody, basically.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a social media following. It's just sort of like I just found myself like people just didn't care about me. You know, like I couldn't, when I applied for jobs, I kind of never really got anywhere with it. My professional network was not good. It just sort of, when my name came up, it just didn't really mean anything. And it's just sort of an unfortunate, or I guess fortunate or unfortunate, it's up to you, but it's just a truth of the world that opportunity tends to go to people who are visible, not necessarily people who are like best at their job, right? You know, it's like if you're the first person that somebody thinks of for what you do, you're probably going to get more opportunities than someone who might be just as good at it or better than you, but nobody thinks of them. So I said, I need to change this. And so that's sort of what led me to do YouTube, because I had done blogs. I did print zines back in the day. Then I had some blogs that were fairly successful. And I sort of saw that by then, you know, the attention was on YouTube. And I was like, well, I guess I got to figure this out. So that's why I started it.
Nice. Yeah. You need to kind of like a social footprint almost, because it does seem like, especially in like that creative field, like a resume is probably a different situation than just, you know, giving somebody like a, you know, cover sheet with like, you know, your job history. They probably want to see like actual media that you've done and created.
It's true. I mean, it's true for anybody. Like whether you are a freelancer or a founder or an entrepreneur or full-time employee, it's just a consultant. It doesn't matter. Like you want to be top of mind for whatever it is that you do. Like let's say, for example, I have a friend named, I actually don't know how to say his last name right. I think it's Freund, Rob Freund, who does, he's an attorney who focuses on law for influencers and social media. And he's always the first person I think of that because I see his content out all the time. He does a very good job of making himself sort of top of mind. And if anybody ever asks me about that stuff, I always send them to him because he's the first person who comes to mind. There might be someone out there that's better than him. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, this guy's
I literally don't know they exist. Yeah. Now I love Rob, and I'm sure he's very good at what he does. He's helped me on a lot of stuff, but so I don't mean to diminish, you know, his work. But point being is like,
Rob is shit.
you want to be the person that is always top of mind for whatever it is you do. And I don't think that's not limited to creative fields. Like whether you're, I mean, think about if you're like, I don't know, if you're an auto mechanic, right?
Right.
It like literally, or you have a landscaping company, you want to be the first like, hey, my gutters need to get cleaned. Who do I call? Well, it's probably if someone has done a very good job of like saturating whatever local radio, you know, with their jingle, you're like, oh, that fucking stupid jingle that I've heard 9 million times. I guess I'll call them.
Dude, 100%. Like my entire house flooded like last summer. Huge expense, lost a lot of stuff. But like when it happens, like I had never experienced flooding before in my life. Like I didn't know what to do. But literally, like you said, there was like there's a local company that ran ads like once a hour basically on my local station. I heard it all the time. And like when it came to that, like dude, it was white noise to me for the last like 15 years. You know?
Then all of a sudden you're like, oh.
That's the first company I called. And apparently I wasn't alone because everyone else called them too, and I couldn't get in. And I had to go with the not the Heinz ketchup of water restoration. I had to go with the B-listers, but they still did a decent job.
The fancy tomato catsup.
Yeah, the Aldi brand of water restoration. So what was the first video? Because you're making like, you know, this creative this marketing content and doing stuff for these brands. How do you just start making, you know, Bring Me the Horizon music videos and stuff like that?
Well, I didn't start with that. So I think they're all private now, probably, or deleted. I don't know. I have to look. But for the first maybe 6 or 9 months or something, I did content about marketing because that's my actual career. And that's sort of what I wanted to be known for. But nobody cared, to make a long story short. I think if I was to start over, like if I know how I could make that channel work now, but you know, at that time, I didn't know how to make that kind of content work. Yeah. And I had written about music a lot before for like Metal Injection and Metal Sucks and stuff like that. So like I sort of knew how to do that. And I was like, well, I sort of observed that there was this I don't know, like nobody made videos about Bring Me the Horizon. I was like, this band is very, very popular. People like them a lot, but nobody has made a video about, like, there was just nobody making videos about the type of music that I have. And even now there still aren't that many people.
Yeah.
So I was like, really? Nobody's made a video about Bring Me the Horizon or Fall Out Boy or Green Day or No Doubt? Like, that's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think like you said, like you filled a void that like was there. Like, and again, that kind of goes back to being like the go-to person for that thing. Like where when I was searching for videos on, I don't know, like mall emo bands from the 2000s or whatever it is, like your videos were the ones that were popping up. And yeah, there weren't, especially back then, there weren't very many people making any kind of content around that. So it's like if I wanted to vegetate on 15 to 20 minutes of what turned out to be Wikipedia knowledge, then you were my go-to dude.
Yeah, there's a few, like, Fall Out Boy would be an example of a band where I have, I think, something different, because I remember when Pete and Andy and we were sort of about the same age, and I remember them from like the hardcore scene back in the day, and so I sort of have a little bit of a different perspective on them than other people might. So that would be an example of, I think, of one of my better videos. But yeah, a lot of them just like I literally just read Wikipedia.
Well, and I always loved it because you did present the facts. It always felt like unbiased. But then, like you would throw in some jokes and like your opinions on stuff, and it was like fun.
I stopped doing that though because it made people angry.
I noticed that, because like the comments got just so like people just got so butthurt about your. And again, I could tell when you were joking. I mean, I don't think I have like a super high intellect or anything like that, but I could like pick up on context clues. Smiling is usually a good one. Like, like it's just crazy that so many people like they would get so upset about you just casually a one-off comment about like a band that they love, and you're not even saying they suck. You're just like, yeah, well, that could have been better, like whatever it was, Well,
whatever, I'm just here to give the people what they want.
Right.
If they don't want my jokes, then I don't give them my jokes.
So you haven't posted anything in I guess since September was the last video you posted on the. So are you done with YouTube, or are you done making those kind of videos anyway?
I don't have any plans to do anything on YouTube. I've sort of considered maybe doing like a channel sort of about entrepreneurship, maybe. But I don't know, because I have a feeling that a lot of people who know me for the music stuff would show up and be idiots, and people on Reddit and Twitter would probably want to tear me down. So probably I won't, but who knows? I'm mostly just active on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Is that why you started making videos, just because of all the negativity?
No, it's because like I don't really have any interest in music. So I was just doing it for the money, and I hit my financial goals. And so there's really just no reason for me. Like I don't have to keep doing it. So I'm not going to spend our time on this earth is limited. Like don't spend it doing shit you don't have to do if you don't want to, It's like I made enough money from this. I don't have to keep making videos about System of a Down, so I'm going to stop.
Man, so you really didn't enjoy it at all? There's just like no part of you that was like, oh, I'm excited to talk about this band today or anything like that. It was always just completely transactional for you?
Yeah, I don't have any interest in music at all.
Right on. Yeah, so you don't miss it then. That's what you're getting at.
No.
Yeah.
It's the money is nice, but I made enough from it that I'm good.
You're probably still getting some like residual revenue though, right? Because I mean, those videos are still getting views every day. There's still stuff coming
it's
in,
still
right?
a few grand a month. So that helps. That'll dry up eventually, but I'll take it.
So are you super excited that you didn't have to talk about the new Linkin Park album and the Emily Armstrong controversy?
Very. I see this stuff now. Like, of course, like for like most of the year, there was like nothing happening, and it was like really hard for me to like find stuff to talk about on Twitch. And now, like after I quit, there's all this drama, but I'm like, man, I'm so glad. I don't give a fucking shit. Like, Jesus, like the drama, whatever, like about Alien Ant Farm and CKY. I'm like, bro, it is 2024.
Yeah.
This is legitimately a conversation we're having. It like, I can't. You want me to care about this shit from bands that peaked 2 goddamn decades ago? Like Linkin Park was fucking washed up in 2004. You want me to talk about them now?
It is crazy when you do see like news headlines that make a big deal about a band doing something. And like, I'm not speaking of Linkin Park in this part, but it's like, it will be like a band does something crazy and it's a news headline everyone's talking about for like weeks or whatever. But then you look at their tour dates and that band is playing like a 500 cap room
right
to like 30. It's like so this band that everyone's talking about isn't actually drawing any people. It's just something for people to talk about. It's just conversation fodder. It's news,
It's just
everyone
because
needs to
these
grab.
smooth-brained, low vibration people just want some negativity to fucking blurt out their dumb fucking opinions about.
So you haven't even listened to Linkin Park then, I'm guessing, the new album?
I mean, I heard it. I don't have an opinion. Like, I don't know. It's like, what
it's
if
kind of hard
somebody
to avoid? It's like dominating the music world at the moment.
I mean, I don't pay attention. Like, it's like if somebody showed you a bag. Do you play golf?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Do you play basketball?
No. I enjoy it. But,
it's like if someone, handed you some new basketball that just came out. They're like, hey, what do you think of this basketball? You'd be like,
yeah.
I guess
it's
cool.
round.
Right. Like, looks fine to me, I guess. I don't know.
It bounces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people were giving me shit. Not a lot of people. A couple people giving me shit in comment sections about like posting so much about Linkin Park, and it's like, it's the biggest fucking band in the world right now. Like, it's the band that everyone's talking about. Like, of course I'm gonna post about it. And then like one dude was like, I wish you'd talk about like more underground bands. It's like, well, I do post about newer bands, but whenever I do post about the newer bands, no one gives a shit. No one.
There's only two options. If you want to have any sort of an audience in this space, there's basically two options. Number one is to talk about millennial nostalgia music, anything that was popular on MTV from, say, 1999 to 2007 or so. The other option is talking about sexual assault. Those are really the only two ways you can get views.
They're very buzzworthy, yeah. Yeah, I know. There was like somebody in the comment section was like, I post about new bands like he had a blog or something. It's like, I post about new bands all the time on my Instagram, and I out of curiosity, I clicked on his page, and it's like all like 500 views, like 300 views. Like,
I mean,
whatever.
if he's cool with that, it's good for him. Like,
yeah,
that's
great.
awesome.
It makes you happy, but it's clear that people aren't watching it for a reason. It's like, unfortunately, what the big names are what dominates the cycle.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
and I know why. It's because there's like, all that stuff was a product of another time in which the monoculture existed, when there weren't 500, and it's the same for like movies. The reason why all like why there's all the remakes and stuff, like all the big brands were built in the era in which TV, radio, print media, stuff like that could build stars and build brands and stuff like that. And it's too fragmented now. Like, there's nobody, like, there's hardly any like breakout stars of the last 10 years or so, really. There's a couple people, there's like Post Malone and maybe like Sydney Sweeney, and there's a handful, but it's not like it's not like what was the last like must watch movie? There's like Barbie, there's like one or two a year, maybe. It's just not the same. TV. When was the last TV show that mattered?
Yeah. Do you think that's because of like social media and streaming and everything?
Yeah, it's because the media landscape is so fragmented. Like, there are YouTubers with, 100 million subscribers that neither of us have ever heard of.
Yeah.
Let alone anybody that sort of doesn't even pay attention to YouTube. So it's like, or like with streamers, like, someone like Asmongold, gets millions and millions of views on his YouTube videos. I don't know how many viewers he has on his streams, like probably 100,000 or something like that. Huge streamer that is like incredibly well known. He's probably the biggest name in that world.
And I have no idea who he is.
Yeah, but if you don't follow, exactly. If you don't follow streaming, like, you've never heard of him. So I think that's the era we live in. And how many TikTokers are there that get millions and millions of views that I've never heard of? So that's the world we live in now, is just sort of like a very fragmented landscape of, we'll call it like micro celebrities. Whereas before, it's like it was the same 20 people that you would always see on TV, hear about on the radio, read about in magazines, whatever. Like when, the Paris Hilton kind of era, I would say is probably like kind of the end of it. And if you look, most of the music and movies and TV shows and stuff like that, the biggest brands are still the ones that were built then.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point because I think because of the way social media is built, like everyone can find their niche, everyone can find their like little thing that they like, and build communities on top of it. And yeah, you get giant superstars within those little kind of I don't know, mega spheres or whatever you want to call them. And then then outside of that, like no, because it blows my mind how many times I find somebody on YouTube or any social media that has millions of followers. I'm like, I literally never heard of this person, but they're by all accounts famous. Like at least in this group, it's pretty wild.
Right.
And like you said, back then there was just a machine pushing out, like and you got to watch them on TV, the movies, the radio, and that's all you got, man. It's wild.
And I think it's a better, like we're better off now for sure that that there's more opportunities for people to build a brand and have an audience and stuff in sort of these little niche categories. I think that's a better place. But the downside of that is sort of what we're talking about here is that if you're, doing commentary or something like that, I mean, like with movie commentary, people talk about fucking Star Wars all the time and Marvel, because it's like, if you want to get views, that's sort of what you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And like going back to what we were talking about too, with like the bands that like, are big in the news, but not in real life. It's like the same thing on social media. Like I have so many like artists I know who like have millions of followers on TikTok, but then like they can't sell out, the venue they're playing on tour. And like they'll tell me, like I've had this conversation before, like the venue owners are like mad at them. They're like, I thought you were going to move tickets. Like you have all these followers. I thought you're going to move. I thought there's going to be thousands of people here. It's like, it's not, it doesn't work that way, man. It's way easier to hit that follow button than it is to like get in your car and drive and pay $12 and stand in line.
Especially like if you're, you think about also, I remember seeing this a lot with MySpace. There was a lot of these MySpace bands that were at the time getting millions of plays, which back then was a lot. And then I would go see them and there'd be like 75 people there. I'm like, this is weird. But then I thought about it and it's like, well, especially back then, most of the people following them on MySpace were like kids, they're like ninth graders. So who live out in the suburbs or whatever. So, a ninth grader can't go see a show, at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday in the city.
Right.
Unless they have terrible parents like mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was unfortunately one of those.
Yeah. But so there's a small number of them who can do that. But it's like you might be their biggest fan. Yeah, you might be the biggest fan, but it's like your parents aren't going to give you a ride to the venue at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's not real. It's not tangible.
Well, it's not. I mean. I know in the rock world, like literally the fucking only thing they care about is live events, like live ticket sales. That is the only thing rock people care about. The end. Yeah. Like nothing, everything else is bullshit to them other than live ticket sales, which I think is incredibly fucking stupid, but that's how they think.
What do you think they should be focusing on?
Well, I mean, for me, I sure wouldn't want my business to depend on having to travel 200 days a year.
Right.
Because that's not sustainable. That's a good way to fucking wreck your mental and physical health and relationships.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't do that. I mean, even people like, say, corporate execs that travel that much a year, like it's fucking, and they're doing it, they're flying, they're getting hotels and stuff. Yeah. It still fucking destroys you.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's not sustainable. So, I mean, I certainly, like if you can't make money, if you're getting millions of eyeballs on your shit and you can't turn that into money, like, you suck, like if the only way you can think of to monetize that is to fucking go get people to show up to a venue, like that's just, you suck. Like how could you not do that? They should be
monetizing through like products and stuff like that?
I don't care. Whatever. They can do whatever the fuck they want. I don't care. I'm not going to tell musicians are a lost cause. Like they can do whatever the fuck they want. I don't care. But let's put it this way. I know lots of people on LinkedIn with less than 10,000 followers that are making way more money than anybody in any band.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the price of these concert tickets are so crazy high for some of these artists too. And with like the Live Nation, dynamic to pricing model, whatever, and like a lot of that is a direct result of the fact that that's the only way anybody can make any money off of music anymore, or at least, in the rock world and stuff.
It's supply and demand. The reason why they're charging $500 to see a fucking band that was washed up 20 years ago is because people will pay it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like it, stop paying it. I mean, it's like, why in the fuck would My Chemical Romance not charge you $400 knowing that there's a bunch of rich millennials or maybe millennials that can't afford it, but with credit cards,
right?
Knowing that there's a bunch of 35-year-olds that will pay it, why the fuck wouldn't they charge that?
Yeah, it is interesting too that all these bands will like hide behind the Ticketmaster Live Nation apron or whatever. Be like, well, it's them, it's not us. Like, we're not saying, well, it's you have part of this. Like, you have a hand in this. It's like, well, like,
I don't. It is so bizarre to me. This is another reason why I'm so glad to be done with this shit. Is like, just it's so bizarre to me that there's a world in which people don't want to just accept that supply and demand is a thing.
Yeah,
like. Why should a band have to apologize for the fact that like people want to buy their shit?
Right.
It's not like, am I doing something wrong? Like that 10,000 people want to go see us, and like, what should I charge them? Should I make less money? Like, would you do that? Like, would you tell your, hey boss, you know what? I don't really think I'm worth $25 an hour. Like, can we cut me down to 19?
Mm-hmm.
Of course not.
Right. So it's sort of like, if a brand is selling, like an upscale brand is selling clothes for an expensive price, no one's like shitting on them for the high price of clothes, because that's the price of them. Like they're selling them at that price. You want a
Balenciaga sweater, it's $1,500. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, you want a Balenciaga sweater, you want to see My Chem live, you're going to have to shell out some money.
This is what it is. Yeah. I don't want either of those things, so I don't buy them.
So you're done with Twitch too, right? Are you not doing stuff on there anymore?
Yeah, I quit that first, I think in June or July.
Okay. So you start scaling back slowly but surely. So you're full on LinkedIn bro now, right?
Yes.
Is that your business card? That's what it says now?
Yes.
So it's crazy. You were saying so LinkedIn is a big way to monetize for people now, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's people are there to do business, and these are like the cream of the crop. Like, these are not scrubs.
Right.
These are the smartest, most high-performing, high achievers in the fucking world. And they are all on there, and they're there to do business. Like, if you have a compelling offer, people there will pay you for it. Like, it's not hard. Well, I'm just going to say it's easy, but like, if you're good, people will see it and they'll pay you for it.
Right. It's simple, not easy though, right?
Yep.
So LinkedIn, does it have its own internal monetization platform like YouTube does, or are you just only selling products and stuff on there?
You could think of it like Instagram for business, like primary, so there's basically two categories of people there who make a lot of money. One is people like me who are consultants that sell a service. So I help people grow either on YouTube or LinkedIn, and you pay me $3,000 and we go through this program. And then at the end of it, I'll help you grow one of those. At the end of it, you have a blueprint for how you're going to do that. And then I help you make some content. There's lots of people who do something similar to that. Say like career coaches or people that, or SEO, consultants, people like that, like service providers. And then the other group of people that make a lot of money there are B2B SaaS marketers. So for anybody who's not familiar with that, B2B means business to business, SaaS means software as a service. So let's say that you sell, for example, like your job probably has some software you use to like, definitely has some software used for like managing all your employees for like payroll and all that type of shit. And, when you log in and you need to get your tax documents at the end of the year, like ADP is the big one there. So, the lifetime value of those contracts, so I don't know how much ADP shit costs, but it's probably whatever, $50 per employee per year, something like that. And so if you have 100 employees, that's $5,000 a year. And you're never going to switch that out, really, because why would you? So
it's already automated.
And it's a pain in the you don't want to switch that out. So once they get you, you're basically paying them $5,000 a year forever for something that requires very minimal effort on their part. Like, they build the product once and they sell it to anybody. So there's a lot of people. So the lifetime value, let's say the average company lasts for 10 years. And they're paying you $5,000 a year. That means the average value of a customer for this software is $50,000. So, if on LinkedIn, you sell this software and you spend a few hours talking to people, let's say you spend in total like 40 hours closing one of these deals.
Yeah.
40 hours to close a contract that is likely to be worth $50,000 over the lifetime of it. pretty great deal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's sort of the second category of people I'd say that do really well on LinkedIn is people that sell like B2B SaaS.
And like you said, like, it's kind of like you set it and forget it almost, because like once it's up and ready to go, like you may do some like back end like troubleshooting when somebody has an issue, but other than that, like you're not on calls every day talking to these companies really. Yeah.
Yep. Pretty
so
much
do you have any
some
kind of
support
like
tickets and stuff? Pretty much set it.
Yeah. Do you offer any kind of like a passive income like that, where like somebody can buy something from you and it's just like a like online course or something that they can refer to?
No, I don't have any courses now. I might do that. The reason I don't have a course now is mostly because with the work I do, I think the details matter so much that I really want to be able to give people like individual attention. Meaning, so like when I'm sure people ask you questions all the time about, growing an Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
And the specific details matter so much. It's like, well, the reason why this video didn't do well for you is because like the first 5 seconds were a little bit too slow. You didn't hook them in the first 5 seconds. You should have said it. You should have said this in this way. You know what I mean? And it's like you want to be able to give people that kind of really specific individual feedback. Which you just can't
blanket advice.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with courses. And I might do one someday, but for now, I really like being able to give people that like individual attention.
So are you helping people? You're helping people grow on YouTube and LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Or is it just YouTube? Okay.
Yeah.
So
kind of it depends on your goals, kind of which one of those might be right for you.
And is it just any like industry, any kind of like niche or anything like that? Or is there anything you're just focused on specifically?
I would say the people I do my best work with tend to be kind of half creative, half technical, because like that's my background. So like product designers, product managers, SaaS founders, user researchers, anybody kind of in that world. Like if you work on product of some kind, in a sort of half creative, half technical role, I'll probably do my best work for you.
Nice.
But I'm open to anybody.
I don't want you to give away the farm here or anything like that, but I know you said that we can't like, there's not really blanket, tips or anything like that, but do you have like maybe like one or two big tips for somebody trying to create content on YouTube, like something they could do to change up or to like get a bigger audience, I guess?
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends, first of all, like what your goal is, sort of what your business model is. So if you are trying to, if your business model is like ours, which I would say is like an entertainment channel, your business model is going to be based primarily on AdSense and brand deals. And, there's going to be some other stuff, but those are kind of be the two big ones. And so your goal there is to get as many views as you can. And so the way I would think about that is that the amount of views that any video is going to get is going to be a product of two things. Number one is, so I think topic is the most important thing. Of course, title and thumbnail and stuff like that's important too, but topic is the number one thing. And it's going to be a product of number one, how many people know about the topic. That determines the total potential audience for the thing. And then how much do people care about that topic is sort of the second part of that. And so we can use a couple examples of this. Like, let's say Pepperidge Farms cookies. Everybody knows what those are, right?
Right.
People don't really care that much about it though. So that would be kind of
piss off the Pepperidge Farm family right now.
So, I mean, who knows? Maybe somebody has a video about Pepperidge Farms and millions of views, but that'll be a little bit tough well, actually, I'll use a better example. Let's talk about movies. So romantic comedies. Romantic comedies are a category movie that everybody knows, right? Like say Bridget Jones, that movie, right? Like
of course, watch it every night.
Yeah, I love romantic comedies. But so everybody knows about romantic comedies, but people don't care that much about them. It's very like just casual entertainment, which is the reason why there are not very many YouTube channels that talk about romantic comedies. Yeah. I'm not aware of any. If there is, I should look for one because I would like to watch that.
Niche, yeah.
But it's weird because it shouldn't be niche because actually that stuff those were like that was the biggest genre of the 2000s, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of awareness for the topic, but not a lot of engagement. The flip side of that would be horror movies, which is not the biggest genre, but the people who know about horror care about it a lot. So that's true, the reason why there are lots and lots of YouTube channels talking about horror movies because of that. So that'd be like the number one thing I'd suggest anybody think about for YouTube is like topic selection is always the most important thing. Like getting back to what you're saying, like Linkin Park, saying literally anything about Linkin Park is going to get more views than saying literally anything about some smaller metalcore band.
Yeah.
Because of those two things. Because with these smaller bands, not that many people even know who they are. Do people care about them? Sometimes, sometimes not, but there are exceptions. So for example, I would say Lorna Shore is sort of an exception to that. That, or at least was, not to say that people don't care about them now, but there was a time in which they were like, everybody talked about Lorna Shore all the time.
Yeah. Like Knocked Loose,
Yeah, exactly. Not the biggest bands in the world, but the people who know about them care about them a lot. Sort of, anything in the kind of Nick Nocturnal kind of world.
Right.
And also, those things will depend on your audience because every audience is a little bit different. So your audience might care a lot about action movies, but might not care that much about horror movies or vice versa. So I think when you're starting out, it's definitely good to sort of look at what other people are doing and I don't want to say copy it, but sort of borrow from it.
Yeah.
But you gotta what works for them might not necessarily work for you.
Yeah, it's gotta make it your own. I mean, it's like you could be inspired by content just way someone's inspired by music or any other kind of art, Right. Like you can see it. And then plus the blueprint's right there. It's like, okay, this video got 1 million views. It worked for this person. So like, how can I do this with my own take, like my own spin on it?
But it might not work for you. For example, there are plenty of videos about Suicide Boys that had millions of views.
Mm-hmm.
I did one about Suicide Boys, which I think was really good. But my audience doesn't give a fuck about them. So that video did not do very well for me.
Right. They want to hear you talk about butt rock and new metal. They don't want to hear you talk about Suicide Boys. Yeah,
exactly. Because Suicide Boys are only 10 years old. So that's way too new for them.
Yeah, I do notice that. Like, I'll post about a band that like maybe something more of the indie realm. I like a lot of indie music. If I post about that, like nothing, like no traction on that because like my audience really just wants to hear me talk about rock, metal, metalcore, new metal, all that stuff, like that, which I love that as well. But yeah, it's funny. It's like you kind of get yourself boxed into these genres that you didn't even mean to initially. Like I'm sure that probably happened to you in the beginning. Like you started making these videos and like, oh shit, I guess I'm just making about scene and pop punk now.
Yeah, which is fine, whatever, as long as something's working, then it's working. But yeah, people are going to have very narrow expectations of you. For example, do you know the game Genshin Impact by any chance?
I don't know.
It's like a very popular, kind of role-playing game.
Okay.
My wife plays it. She's like addicted to it. And then there's another game called Honkai Star Rail that's like the sister game. Anyway, so there's like a couple people on YouTube that she watches that will make videos about this game that do really well. Whenever they make a video about Genshin, it does great. If they make a video about literally any other game, even one that's like very closely related, it bombs because people only want them to do Genshin content.
Yeah.
And that's just sort of the nature of the beast. You just have to accept that like you don't get to decide what your audience cares about.
Right. Yeah, if the goal is to make money at the end of the day, like you've got to make something that people want to watch. You have to make a product that people enjoy and are entertained by. Like,
do you think Loudwire wants to write about fucking, David Lee Roth and Corey Taylor and fucking Def Leppard or like, do you think they want to be writing about? Of course not.
Yeah. Which for everyone listening, please stop making the "What does Corey Taylor think?" comments. It's the joke is so not funny anymore.
Yeah, it's not funny.
Like it stopped being funny like 5 years ago. Then it got funny 3 years ago again, retroly, and then now it's not.
It's never going to get funny again. It's done.
Yeah, it's dead, man. Kill it. Well, dude, it's been so good chatting with you in real life ish, kind of here.
Close enough.
Yeah. Did you have any more plugs before we get out of here? Any more stuff you want to get out about the Finn McKenty brand?
Not really. If anybody here, if there's got to be someone out here, that's in the SaaS world, and if you are, find me on LinkedIn. That's I actually, I'm much more interested and knowledgeable about SaaS than I am music. So if you like SaaS, hit me up.
If you've liked his metalcore videos, you're gonna love his opinion about SaaS.
Exactly.
Are you on Blue Sky yet? Did you try that one yet?
No.
Yeah.
Fuck no. No.
So I got it just because I didn't want some bot to claim my username.
They can take mine. Yeah.
Finn McKenty's available on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
So you don't think it's important to be on every platform then?
Well, I mean, it depends it depends. I mean, what you did is smart. Like, yes, you should at least grab your handle everywhere because you don't want somebody else to take it. But it's just, you can't be active on every platform.
Oh, yeah.
It's not possible. So you got to, until eventually maybe you can have a team and have them help you run it. But then like that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But if you're one person, you got to pick one platform and really optimize for. You can probably do a really good job on one platform and an okay job on one more, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So
just
you got
a presence on the rest of them.
Yeah. You just got to pick the one that you really care about. As far as Blue Sky goes, like the people who are on there are all like terminally online woke people who hate me. So the last fucking thing I ever want to do is fucking interact with those people and have them call me horrible names more than they already do.
Yeah, it's weird. The Blue Sky feed is just literally like, it's just people talking about how awesome Blue Sky is. Like, it's almost like it's like a bot like app or something. Like, I don't see any actual content on there. It's just people like, man, Blue Sky is so cool. I've gained thousands of followers this week. Like,
they're all gonna get tired of it in a fucking week.
Just like Threads.
Yeah, and Mastodon and like, but I mean, or if it doesn't, cool, good for them. I don't give a shit. But like, it's all the like super left-wing people that don't like Twitter anymore because of Elon, and those are the last fucking people on the planet I want to interact with. So no thank you.
There you go. So go follow Finn on LinkedIn, find him on YouTube, go claim his handle on Blue Sky and impersonate him, cosplay as Finn.
Please do.
And for everyone listening to this, if you enjoy this episode, please share it with somebody that doesn't suck. All right. Take it easy now, and bye-bye.